What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. We are talking about New Japan Destruction Tour, the final night of the Destruction Tour. We came into this with a Road 2 show, of course. Had a pretty good match I'm going to recommend. A lot of history in it between El Desperado as he defended the Juniors Championship earlier in the tour against Doki. And there's still the House of Torture being the House of Torture, claiming that Doki's the champion even though he isn't. There's a whole long story with that, which is not over yet. This night opened out with a multi-man tag match. You had Hontai versus the House of Torture. Hontai did win. It's a typical House of Torture match, although the good guys won this one. The main thing about this was establishing a tag team that I'm actually kind of didn't think about before, but I'm kind of curious to see where they're going to go now. Shota Umino and Yuya Uemura. That is a good team to have paired up together. Both of them in the Tanahashi mold to some extent. We would see a little bit more from them later in the night. Some other highlights on the night. Hiroshi Tanahashi continuing his retirement tour. He took on the Great O-Khan. The Great O-Khan, a man kind of without a faction. A lot of the United Empire not on this tour. The United Empire has been decimated over the last year and a half. And basically, O-Khan is, I mean, they even say it now, O-Khan's kind of a man without a country too. He's not part of the unaffiliated guys. Callum Newman wasn't in town, and Francesca Akira is injured again, and obviously we know what's going on with Hinari and some of the other people that have left New Japan. So O-Khan needs to kind of reorder where he is and what he is. I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some big change to the Great O-Khan, especially how this match ended. This was his third ever match with Hiroshi Tanahashi, obviously his last match with Tanahashi. He did do the sling blade on Tanahashi, which was kind of funny. But the Great O-Khan did fall to the ace. He will now be 0-3 forever against Hiroshi Tanahashi. Tanahashi had some words for O-Khan after the match, but this wasn't a big thing. And the big thing is that after the match, Kaito Kiyomiya, who is no stranger to New Japan now, New Japan fans, after he's had his spats with Okada. He had his brawl at the G1 a few years ago with Gabe Kidd that was crazy. And now he's coming out from Pro Wrestling Noah to challenge the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi. So that will be in a Noah show, and a Noah ring is Kiyomiya wanted. So you got some cross-promotion things here. Again, as a Western fan, you know, the equivalent, if you're somebody watching this and new, the equivalent would be as if somebody from AEW could go to WWE and just challenge for a match and say, hey, you got to wrestle this on an AEW show. Hopefully someday that can happen. Someday, hopefully over here in the West, we can have our wrestling companies operate like that as opposed to the kind of we have to kill each other mentality. But that was pretty cool to see Kiyomiya show up. Definitely, of course, drawing interest for fans like myself now to go watch that match with him and Tanahashi as the ace rounds out his career. We get really close now, only a little over 90 days until Wrestle Kingdom and the big ending to Tanahashi's career. Who he's going to face in that match, we don't know, but it'll be fun to see that. The Never Openweight Championship was on the line. Boltin Oleg defending against somebody, Don Fale, who has not, they even mentioned in English commentary that Don Fale has not wrestled a singles match in New Japan against somebody who wasn't a young lion for like years. So how he got this title match is really because of what happened at the G1. Fale being one of the reasons that Boltin Oleg didn't make the playoffs this year. Oleg kind of got his revenge here. He does win the match against Fale. It was a big man meat match. It was fun to see Oleg, that's the whole point of this match, for him to display his feats of strength against the guy the size of Batlock Fale. And Fale has just done nothing but get bigger and bigger. So again, another one for the Hontai group. Never Openweight Championship stays in the hands of the Kazakhstan. However, the tag team champions wouldn't be so fortunate as Taichi and Tomohiro Ishii, also on Hontai. I know that's still hard to believe for a lot of people, myself included. They're defending against the newest members of Bullet Club War Dogs. They're getting hyped up a lot as being a good tag team, but you have to remember, New Japan's tag team scene has always been kind of sporadic. We are not in the days like a few years ago when it was like the Guerrillas of Destiny and they had teams coming in like the War Raiders from time to time, and the Briscoes would come in from time to time. That was the last time New Japan's tag division felt like really solid. Right now, it's kind of makeshift tag teams still. I think, and they even mentioned this too, that most of the tag team championship matches, there are no defenses. There's one defense and they lose the titles. It's been going on a while. Obviously, the whole story with Jeff Cobb leaving and Cal Newman, who's been a two-time champion now, and I don't think has had a successful defense of his championship. Maybe he had one. But getting these guys in here and trying to establish these guys as the basis and foundation for what they're going to be doing with the tag team scene in New Japan going forward in the future, I think was a good shot. I think most people expected the War Dogs to win this match. Ice and Asuka do win this match. There's some cute spots in here where Taichi and Ishii, who were formerly enemies for like ever, who both are now tag team champions, they kind of take the bullet for each other a couple times in this match, which was kind of a cool point to add to this, but that didn't matter. The War Dogs win, new tag team champions, and as Chris Charlton said, these are probably going to be long-term tag team champions, at least a couple months, relatively speaking. That was not the end of it, though. As I mentioned before, the multi-man tag match was there for one reason, and that was to get over this new tag team of Shota Umino and Yuya Uemura, who come straight out and challenge the War Dogs. Now, what I didn't know is that there's a little bit of history here that I didn't know about, that Ice apparently was in a dark match a while ago against Uemura. And in that match, it lasted like 30 seconds and he hurt himself. So Ice, even though it's Shota, who's, Shota's always got to try to overcompensate. He's trying to get in the face of the champions, the new champions, and challenge them. Ice ain't having it. He's going straight to Uemura. And I think that's a foundation for a really good rivalry going forward with this whole tag team division. If this is the beginning of them trying to start at least something resembling a tag division, I think it's a good start. And I think for right now, Shota and Uemura being a tag team is probably a good choice. We then had a special challenge match. David Finlay and Yota Tsuji, two of the new main event guys, the current main event guys in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They've always had some pretty good matches against each other. This one was not an exception to that. Another great match between David Finlay and Yota Tsuji. And I think this is the thing about Tsuji, and I would say to some extent Finlay, but Tsuji in particular, he does have this thing where he has this ongoing series with guys in New Japan, and you would see this later in the night as well. David Finlay in a tough spot here. He's lost a lot of matches. He had a really bad start to the G1 this year. He tried to bring it back in the end, but unlike Jay White, who started 0-3 and made it to the finals, David Finlay, who started, I think, 0-4 or something like that, did not make a comeback and get into the finals of the G1, getting ousted in the semifinals. So this was really important for David Finlay. Not only for that, but they are hinting at that this is important in the War Dogs. We've got new tag champions. We don't know where Drilla and Clark Connors are right now. And David Finlay feels the pressure to lead by example. Tsuji did not care about this. These two guys had some great exchanges at the end of the match, or near the end of the match. Finlay looked like he might be able to pull this one out, but Tsuji kind of just obliterated him, got a couple Gene Blast in there. 1, 2, 3, and Finlay, a distraught Finlay's in the corner. Tsuji tries to stick his hand out. Finlay doesn't want to shake his hand. Finlay's going back to the dressing room, kind of thinking, now, what is the path for Finlay going into Wrestle Kingdom? I'm getting a sneaking suspicion we're going to see this War Dogs blow up coming up pretty soon. David Finlay's 2025 as a leader of Bullet Club, the leader of what remains of Bullet Club, has been very, very shaky. And he's got another member in his crew who might cause some problems for him. But before we get to that part, we want to talk about something involving Hontai and another member of the War Dogs. Taiji Ishimori is challenging Hiromu Takahashi for the GHC Junior Championship. Now, yes, that is a Pro Wrestling Network Championship. This is the first time that Juniors Championship has been defended in New Japan, I think, since the early 2000s. I think they mentioned it on the broadcast. I know Liger held that belt at one time, but this has been a long time coming, and Ishimori's entire back history is he's held that championship so many times because that's where he came from. And now that Hiromu won the belt when he did a cross-promotional match in Noah, defending it here against Ishimori, it's a nice little context into this whole match. Do a great job at the beginning of every match, which is what the announcers are supposed to do, of explaining what the motivations are for each wrestler coming into the match and giving the backstory of it to the audience, which is a great thing that they do very, very well. And I don't think Walker and Chris Charlton get enough credit for that. But they definitely got you in and caught up to speed on what was going on in this match and how much this meant to Ishimori, going after a championship that he was synonymous with for a while. and saying that if he won a championship, he would keep it in New Japan and not defend it over there in Pro Wrestling Noah. This would not be the case, though. They had another great match between the two of them, and I think at this point I can say this card, mainly from top to bottom, it was a solid card. There weren't any really great, super outstanding matches. They were all just above average matches from basically the second match after Tanahashi and the Great Khan for the rest of the night. You're getting solid wrestling. So definitely recommend the whole night as far as if you're a pure wrestling fan and like a good wrestling show. This is definitely another good to great New Japan show. Not the greatest, but a definite solid show all around. After the match was where the controversy came in, because even though Ishimori fell down and he lost the match to Hiromu was not done with his challengers, because the juniors over in Pro Wrestling Noah are not happy at all that Hiromu Takahashi is carrying around the championship and defending it in New Japan and just doing whatever he wants with it. I love the cross-promotional stuff here. Again, I think it would be great. This stuff would be so awesome. If this happened in America with our wrestling promotions, it'd be so awesome to see guys just show up in different promotions that we knew, worked together but weren't. It's really different over there in Japan. Like, even though Pro Wrestling Noah and New Japan worked together before and they work with DDT and Dragon Gate, they'll send guys back and forth to each other. There's competition, but there's also cooperation. But it's not anything like it is over here in the States, where like you have the AEW side of the wrestling world and the WWE side of the wrestling world. It's like they're different styles, and they all kind of just like, yeah, we're just doing wrestling shows, and hey, maybe we can help each other out, sell some tickets or whatever. So the semi-main event of the night was a match that I absolutely was looking forward to, because I wanted to see what was going to happen in it, because you're going to be able to tell some clues about some rumors that fans have had for a while. We talked about it on the channel before. Gabe Kidd defending the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship against Shingo Takagi. Shingo called him out, talking a lot about Gabe and his time and why wasn't he at the G1 final, and then the next week he was at the AEW pay-per-view, even though he could have been at the G1 final to set up the angle, and that which is understandable if you're Shingo Takagi. Shingo Takagi, he's done shows in AEW himself, but New Japan came first for him, and if you can build an angle for New Japan, that's what you're going to do. And I think that's what the complaint was, not only by Shingo, but a lot of fans expressed this complaint. Gabe hasn't said too much about this. He's kind of alluded to just basically telling everybody to go F themselves who have any complaints about him and his loyalty to New Japan Pro Wrestling. As I said, it was a bad look the way that it all went down. But I also said it's not like Gabe sandbagged. That we all saw legitimately that Takeshita landed on his leg in that first G1 match and hyperextended his knee. So we knew he was injured. It just seemed weird at the timing of him coming back from a minor injury and then choosing to go to the AEW show instead of the New Japan show. Now, Shingo, he did say that, obviously AEW is going to pay him more money, so he's going to show up for these one-offs when he can, but his loyalty is to New Japan Pro Wrestling. I was very curious in this match to see how the crowd was going to respond to Shingo, how the crowd was going to respond to Gabe, how Shingo and Gabe were going to respond to each other in the ring, how much of this is work and shoot. I think it's a little bit of both. But and it's about time one of these guys, these Japanese wrestlers in New Japan, did speak up about the thing about foreigners who come in, use New Japan to go elsewhere. And I'm finally glad to hear one of the Japanese wrestlers actually address this and make it part of a storyline. That being said, this match, probably my favorite one on the night. It was a fantastic. And if there was any question about Gabe's Kid's dedication, his effort, his loyalty to New Japan, I think we can squash it right now. The commentary team did a good job of explaining his side of the story, because again, we haven't heard much of what was really going on there. There is one spot in this match. They're on an apron. Gabe has set up two of these Japanese, remember these are Japanese tables outside the ring. He's trying to throw Shingo through it. Shingo reverses it. And I didn't think they were going to do this, because this is a dangerous, dangerous spot. But Shingo actually hits the Made in Japan, I think it was the Made in Japan, on Gabe Kidd outside the ring through both of the tables. And these are these hard Japanese tables. They both crumbled. And Shingo gets back in the ring. They start the 20 count. Gabe finally gets back in the ring, and he just comes out of a pool of blood because he's got this giant puncture wound in the back of his skull. He finishes the match. And there is blood intermittently just pouring. It's not a blade job. This is the hard way. It's just like every once in a while, you'll see this stream of blood come out of the back of his head. They continue the match. and it seemed to fire him up. I mean, he went in there and just fought his ass off, fought his heart. He stopped a lot of silliness, though. He got deadly serious about this match in the last 5 to 10 minutes. And this was fun. This felt like a rough, tough, old school New Japan fight. Not that, a different kind of fighting spirit, a different kind of strong style. More of that Vader Hansen kind of stuff. Just brutal, hard-hitting, tough guys doing tough guy stuff. That's what you saw in this match. Gabe, even though it looked like about 3 times I thought he was going to lose this match, they were going to take the title off of him, he does not. He actually pulls out the win with Drill a Hole, Pile Driver, and finally puts down Shingo Takagi. Little modicum of respect. He holds out his hand too. Shingo doesn't want to shake his hand, oddly enough, because Shingo's a little cantankerous himself. He's a crusty old man like me. So Shingo didn't want to shake his hand, but he gave him the fist bump. At least it was a sign of respect there. Once again, another challenger comes out. This is the night of challengers. And yes, it is Yota Tsuji. Now, the last match that they had against each other was a little bit of a letdown for me. They had a match earlier this year, which was the draw that they had was phenomenal. The G1, the match they had later on, it wasn't the G1. The match they had later on wasn't as good, the Dominion one. But they are now setting up, I believe it's going to be in 2 weeks, at King of Pro Wrestling, another rematch. This one because remember, Gabe Kidd took the title, the Global Championship from Yota Tsuji. Tsuji wants that rematch. He's getting the rematch 2 weeks from now, King of Pro Wrestling. Again, these guys wrestled one of the matches of a very strong match of the year contender earlier in this year. And I'm looking forward to seeing if they can repeat that here as we head into King of Pro Wrestling again, which is only coming up in 2 weeks. So we will be back here. If you're not subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can know when I have a review of King of Pro Wrestling coming up. Then we get into the main event. It is Zack Sabre Jr. defending the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship against Ren Narita of the House of Torture. Now, we've had most of this show with the House of Torture shenanigans were at the beginning of the show. It's mostly been Hontai and the unaffiliated guys and the Bullet Club War Dogs in the middle matches. But here we got another House of Torture match. We do get House of Torture shenanigans in this. Zack came into this match with an idea that he did not want to use a rope break because just a way of disrespecting Ren Narita's skills as a grappler because Ren Narita cheats as much as he does. The big win for Ren Narita in this match is that even though he's got Zack in a couple submissions, Zack does not want to use the ropes. He could easily, but he's like, no, I'm going to break out of it. And at one point in time, he couldn't figure it out. He had to grab the ropes to break the hold because he was going to tap. And then you just see Zack put his hands over his face like, oh my God, I had to use the ropes. He made a big stink about that. And Narita made him have to use the ropes for the rope break. That was a great little bit of in-ring psychology and a little bit of in-ring storytelling that I absolutely loved in this match. The great thing is, we didn't get too crazy with the House of Torture stuff. So, Yujiro and I think Dick Togo, they got escorted out. We did have some more shenanigans at the end, but the point is, Zack Sabre Jr. retained the championship. I'm glad because I did not want to see Ren Narita. I don't want to see anybody in the House of Torture with the IWGP World Championship. Which means, though, that Zack is going to have his rematch against Konosuke Takeshita. And this time is going to be for the IWGP World Championship. That's right. Once again, the G1 winner 2 years in a row now is not cashing in at Wrestle Kingdom. They're cashing in at the King of Pro Wrestling show, which means, again, we're going to have to find another way to get the main event slot, which there's a bunch of names floating around in the main event for Wrestle Kingdom coming up. The main thing about this Wrestle Kingdom you have to remember, too, is that the World Championship might not even be the main focus. It's going to be the focus on Tanahashi's final match. And they're already saying that they're selling a lot of tickets for this Wrestle Kingdom. So this might be one of the higher attended Wrestle Kingdoms in recent years since the pandemic happened. And we might be getting back to, at least with the gimmick of Tanahashi's retirement match, a much bigger Wrestle Kingdom than we've had in recent years. But I thought overall, this match, the Destruction Tour Destruction, I think it was a solid B show. It was, again, no real great match of the year out of this one, but no really terrible matches on this one. The whole card was just a solid night of wrestling. Good setups. A lot of people challenging. It does get a bit redundant after the fourth time if somebody comes out and is just like, I'm challenging you to a match, and they push each other. Like, it was a little overdone. Like, I think it happened like 4 or 5 times, but that's no big deal. That's New Japan. That's Japanese wrestling style anyway. But outside of that, that's a minor nitpick was just a straight up solid wrestling show. So I do recommend it. match of the night, if I had to pick one, is probably going to be Shingo and Gabe Kidd. That was a great global championship match. And then, again, continuing to help establish the legacy of that championship. And if we are going to, which a lot of people are talking about, Gabe wants to go champion versus champion, there is a setup there that Gabe is a global champion. If Takeshita, which I think a lot of people are expecting Takeshita to beat Zack at King of Pro Wrestling, are we going to go into Wrestle Kingdom with Takeshita against Gabe Kidd, Takeshita against Yota Tsuji, Hiroki Goto? He did make a surprise appearance and announced that he will be back in New Japan now. So Goto, the former champion, he could be back in the mix. We got a lot of moving parts right now for New, which is out of nowhere. You know, there's a lot of possibilities for the main event of Wrestle Kingdom coming up. All could be great main events for a Tokyo Dome show. But I want to know what you guys thought of Destruction. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Are you happy with New Japan right now? Where do you think New Japan is? Are you interested in this Noah show, since there was this big cross-promotional thing happening here? And like myself, would you like to see something like that happen in the West? It would be awesome. I would love it. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until next time, I'll see you guys here as we continue to cover the world of pro wrestling on the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.